Back in pre-season work at their new training ground in Gillingham, today is a fresh start all round. Steve Butler is recalled as coach, Andy Hessenthaler becomes a player coach, and Peter Taylor returns to club management from the international stage.
I saw the team play 2 or 3 times last year, and I've said to them today that I was very impressed with their ability and I was impressed with their attitude. And I've just got to make sure that we keep that going. You know, they showed what a good team they were. They just need to improve a touch on last year and hopefully try and go for better.
A new look stadium. By the millennium, the 11,000 all-seater arena will be complete. And to see how it's been taking shape, Neil Henderson has been looking at the virtual reality plans.
This is a vision the Gillingham fans will see in the early millennium. A brand new stadium fit for the higher divisions and costing around £4 million, and a new complexion for the previously antiquated Priestfield Stadium.
It's the end of a lot of hard work that's been put in by a great design team here at Clegg's and BSF, the engineers. And I think what the public can now see is the stand taking shape. Obviously the Rainimen they can see with their own eyes. But I can obviously see now that with the virtual reality that can be created through technology, they can see what the Redfern Avenue is going to look like. And I think what they've seen today on screen is really what they're going to be seeing in the flesh in about 4 or 5 months, I hope.
Builders are making progress on the Rainham end, and when the whole stadium is finished, 11,000 people will be able to pack into the new look Priestfield, and 21 executive boxes will help to bring in much needed revenue.
There's not just stands for people to watch football, it encapsulates lots of new areas for the football club, such as the function room, merchandising in the shop, and good, excellent hospitality facilities, which are important for any club to go forward.
The Rainham end should be complete by the 14th of August, the first home game of the season for the Gills. Neil Henderson in Gillingham for Meridian News.
Gillingham came within a whisker of promotion at Wembley in May, but Bury settled this one with a 2-goal burst after the break. Ian Lawson flicking in his first league goal for his new club after moving on a free transfer from Huddersfield in the summer. Lawson also played a big part in the second, holding off the challenge of Butters. Ashby's clearance. Whoops, straight back off Adrian Littlejohn. The Gills gave themselves hope thanks on the one hand to some good refereeing, allowing a possible advantage, and a pretty dreadful clearance. Andy Thompson, the man turning and firing home. Bury, of course, were only relegated on the final day last season, and they certainly intend a quick return. The final score, Bury 2, Gillingham 1.
McGlinchey, another one of those debutants. Strong work by Darren Freeman. Now a chance of Brighton to break forward. Decent ball wide as well. Cross comes back in for Gary Hart. Good save by Vince Bartram. Oh, when the ball comes back, it was Chris Wilder who hit into the side netting. Really good chance that for Brighton. Hessenthaler clears as far as Nose Road. In the long ball forward looking for Paul Smith. The defending by Keith McPherson has found its way into the net, and that may well go down as an own goal for Keith McPherson. Mark Ormerod tried his best to get it out, but what a disappointing goal to give away from Brighton's point of view. Right on the stroke of half-time, it was Paul Smith who chased, and there was a mix-up between Keith McPherson and Mark Ormerod, and it will go down as a Mark Ormerod own goal. Guy Butters will take this free kick. Long ball forward by Guy Butters. Looks for Taylor's flick. Noseworthy might get in. Nyron Noseworthy. Great stop though by Mark Ormerod. And eventually it's put behind by Chris Wilder for a Gillingham corner. Really good stop though by Mark Ormerod from Nyron Noseworthy. Quite how Noseworthy was given the time and the space to get in his shot. That's what Mark Ormerod will ask, but he made the save. Good searching run though by Gary Hart, tries to pull it back. Freeman tries to get in there, somehow it's cleared off the line, comes back for Freeman, eventually for Gary Hart, and the danger is cleared. And how Gillingham got away with that, I'll never know. Here's Rod Thomas. Back again for Chris Wilder. Again the cross is deep, this time Rogers goes up. And it's out for a... Starting to show a great deal more urgency now, Brighton. They don't want to be going to Priestfield. Already a goal down. Noseworthy's touch for the breaking Andy Hessenthaler. Andy Hessenthaler through on goal, and Gillingham are 2 goals in front. Andy Hessenthaler given time and space. He picked his spot, and Mark Ormerod was beaten for the 2nd time tonight. Gillingham now have a really good advantage to take into the 2nd leg. Noseworthy. Again forward early by Rogers. Gary Hart might get a chance to get onto this. Just skips past the last challenge of Adrian Pennock, and he is brought down, and that was a professional foul by Adrian Pennock, and he gets his marching orders from referee Phil Richards. Well, he doesn't like it, Adrian Pennock. There were defenders in there behind him. Did that prevent a clear goal-scoring chance? So Adrian Pennock is sent off. Freeman and Hart will hope for one last chance, perhaps. All right, Mark. Jimmy Campbell over it. Vince Bartra makes a routine stop. And will that be the last chance for Brighton to reply? End up in the back of the Gillingham net. Quite how, I'm not sure. Campbell's cross again. Bartram tries to come. This time it is half cleared. Back in again, but this time Matt Bryant can clear. So a real scare led on then for Gillingham. It was a combination of Gary Hart and David Cameron who carved that chance out. And it looked very close indeed. And there goes the final whistle. The first game under floodlights at Withdean was not one of high quality, one of very few chances, but Brighton matched Gillingham for commitment and desire. In the end, though, Gillingham played to a well-worked formula. They've done it before, and thanks to an own goal by Mark Ormerod and a strike on the break from Andy Hessenthaler, Brighton have gone down by 2-0.
His home match against Bristol Rovers. Builders are still putting the finishing touches to the stand, but a council safety inspection gave it the all clear this afternoon. Total capacity at Priestfield will be a little over 8,000. So all clear off the pitch. On the pitch, Gillingham may make changes to the side that beat Brighton in midweek. Both Mark Patterson and Andy Thompson are back in contention after injury, and Robert Taylor should also be fit.
The first home game of the new season, and Gillingham showing off the new Rainham end. A defeat on the opening day of the campaign meant this fixture was so important, and Peter Taylor desperate to get his first points in the bag. Andy Thompson had an early chance to break down the Rovers' defence, but he was kept at bay, and then Andy Hessenthaler couldn't keep it down. The sending off of Bristol midfielder Ronnie Morg gave Gillingham the opportunity to use their extra man to their advantage. Andy Hessenthaler, the victim of a heated exchange. The referee saw the incident and sent Morg to the dressing room. When they really should have taken advantage, Gillingham's gala occasion was turned into a solemn encounter as Jason Robert netted the winner, leaving Peter Taylor still seeking his first league point. Gillingham 0, Bristol Rovers 1.
the opposite start to what I wanted. But both the games, to be honest with you, I couldn't really ask too much more from the players, especially today. They passed the ball around well and created enough chances to win the match.
It all seems to be going to plan for Gillingham away at Blackpool after Barry Ashby put them into a first-half lead. But with 15 minutes left, Blackpool were level in controversial circumstances. Murphy with the header, but Gillingham furious. They had put the ball into touch to allow a Blackpool player treatment. Manager Peter Taylor fuming that Blackpool failed to observe protocol and give the ball back. He received the red card. Today, he was unrepentant.
That was the sad side of football, because they were outplayed for 90 minutes on Saturday. We deserved to win the game. And for them to get a point in the way they did, I think it's very sad. And I wouldn't want to be the manager that has to get points that way.
Although he was escorted from the pitch on Saturday, Taylor refuses to let the matter lie. He's warned Blackpool to fear the worst at Priestfield in January.
Over 4,500 turned out for this Worthington Cup second leg match. Brighton were written off from the start, having lost 2-0 at Withdean. Almost immediately, Robert Taylor was clean through on goal and almost netted his first strike of the season. Goalkeeper Omerod doing just enough. Taylor just getting into his stride and putting the Seagulls' defence on red alert. But just 10 minutes later, Taylor, who handed in and withdrew a transfer request in the space of a week, was put through by Thompson and broke the deadlock. Taylor full of confidence and typical finishing from last term's Player of the Year. 3-0 by this time on aggregate, and Brighton had already resigned themselves to crashing out of this tie. And Nicky Southall confirmed their fears when he drilled home a second from Hessenthal's pass. Southall with a clear route to goal and no one closing him down. Brighton's best chance of the first 45 minutes came from a Thomas precision cross, and Newhouse just over the top. In the second half, Peter Taylor urged his side to extend their lead. Bob Taylor's powerful shot well saved by Omerod. Taylor again leaving his marker for dead. In the end, 2-0 on the night, and Gillingham go on to meet the big guns. A convincing victory in the end and through to the next round of the Cup.
It was good. It was better for us second game. Brighton played really well first game, and we done well to get a 2-0 result there because they created more chances than us, so full credit to them. But I was pleased tonight, and we didn't start off particularly well, but we scored at an important time and it lifted everybody. Then we got passing the ball.
I suppose it's been a confusing week for Bob Taylor. It's a case of will he stay or will he go? Now he's staying, and he's I suppose won the fans' hearts again after scoring that goal.
Yeah, he showed his quality. I think he should have scored just before that, to be fair. But no, he's been unclear in his head, but he's much happier now. The last couple of days, I can see that how much clearer he is, and he's been one of the boys. He's been no problem anyway, but he's been even happier the last couple of days, and he's such a good player that I can only be delighted.
That goal tonight, was it a huge sigh of relief for you?
It's always nice to score your first goal this season, and also set us off for the rest of the night. You know, we could relax a bit more. We knew they're a good side, Brighton, and we knew we had to be on top of our game. That's why we fielded our first 11 out there, and you know, we played some good football.
Seeking their first win of the season went into this game off the back of the Worthington Cup victory over Brighton. It was an exciting start to the first half. Gillingham conceded a penalty early on as Miller tried to stop the visitors surging into the area, and up stepped Brown to open the scoring. It was a tale of two penalties just a short time later, the Wycombe defence finding it hard to shackle Robert Taylor, and the referee points to the spot. And in true Taylor style, he nets his second goal of the campaign. 1-1 then at half-time, and in the second half the Priestfield crowd were kept entertained. And just 10 minutes from the end, it looked like the Gills were going to lose this one. McCarthy slotting home what seemed to be the winner. But 6 minutes later, the saving grace came from McGlinchey, who managed to secure a point. The Gills still second bottom of the table, with a visit to Stoke tomorrow. Of the campaign, it was a long drawn-out affair, and both sets of supporters had to wait until the last 5 minutes for goals. It looked all over for the Gills in 87 minutes when Sigurdsson opened the scoring, and it seemed like they claimed the full points. But just 3 minutes later, and in injury time, Robert Taylor nodding in a valuable equaliser, and may have thought it wasn't going in. The Stoke defence, though, were stunned. It ended Stoke 1, Gillingham 1, and still only 3 points from 5 games. Gillingham fans have been waiting for that elusive first 3 points of the season. With Carlos Saba out, in came new signing on loan Manny Omenini, who started with a bang. A great forward pass to Robert Taylor, and he pounced on the ball, driving in the opener. Things starting to look up for the Gills then, and the match was all over before Oldham moved into second gear. As Hessenthaler broke free from his marker, the rebound falling nicely to the West Ham striker, and immediately he was granted hero status by the fans at Priestfield. So 2-0 and all the excitement really in the first half. In the second and in the dying minute, McNiven slotted one home. Gillingham 2, Oldham 1. So in the second division, Gillingham moving up into 17th place, 7 points behind the leaders, but early days yet.
When you come to a new club, it's always good to make a good start. I was a bit nervous at the start, but get my first touch right and putting Bob Taylor in for the goal settled me right down. And it was a great run from Bob. We were training on the pitch yesterday, and every time he touched the ball, he finished well. So when he went through, I had no doubt at all that he was going to put the ball in the back of the net.
Was flattened by Oxford's Jamie Lambert. Penalty given. And Nicky Southall gratefully accepted the chance to give the Gills the lead. Now watch for the pace and skill of Gillingham's on-loan striker, Matty Omimini. This is a brilliant goal, and manager Peter Taylor will be using all his persuasion to keep the Nigerian at the club. Oxford scored in injury time, but it ended Oxford 1, Gillingham 2.
Gillingham came out fighting and nearly scored early when a lovely cross found Andy Thompson. But neither Paul Smith nor he could convert, and Bolton scrambled to make the ball safe. Then a Bolton free kick from Neil Cox was deflected in the wall, beat the Gillingham keeper and put the Northerners 1 up. And just before half-time, Ida Gudjonsen made no mistake to secure their second. But Gillingham hung in, and when Andy Hessenthaler picked up the ball, he only had the keeper to beat. Then it was that man Gudjonsen again who cut through the Gillingham defence with ease to coolly score Bolton's third. His Icelandic teammate Gudni Bergson had all the space he needed for the header that sealed the match 4-1.
They showed what a good passing team they can be, and they were hard work to play against. But I really appreciated the boys for keeping going. You know, they didn't drop their heads, they kept going. And games like tonight are also sometimes bigger scores than what they showed tonight. But I think our boys kept going.
They're going to have to make the most of every chance in the second leg, but even the most optimistic accept Gillingham are as good as out of the Worthington Cup.
Gillingham thought they'd recovered from their early season slump after 2 straight wins, but this was more than a battle for points. It was a revenge mission by the Northerners, Mackin driving in the opener in 64 minutes. But North End skipper Sean Gregan, who missed the playoffs after defeat by Gillingham, made sure the 3 points were going back to Deepdale. Gillingham 0, Preston 2.
I think that if you create more chances than the opposition, you've got to take them. And we needed a little bit of luck for one of those to get an even better opening. But at the end of the day, the way we played for an hour, we were better than Preston. And unfortunately for us, they scored second half a couple of goals that I didn't think they had to work as hard as they should have had to have worked for.
Gillingham now in the lower regions of the division, still a long way to go.
First leg, the Gills were dead and buried by the 7th minute as Bolton hammered home their advantage. It took 4 minutes for Bo Hansen to give Bolton a lead. He made it look easy. 3 minutes later, Gills defender Guy Butters brought down Dean Holdsworth in the penalty area. And although Anthony Williams saved the penalty, Holdsworth following up gave Bolton a 6-1 advantage. The Gills' best chance came from a corner. Barry Miller's header was parried, but they just couldn't get the ball over the line. So Gillingham out of the Worthington Cup, the league will now claim their full attention.
Had the edge over Millwall from the start. They came close early when a Nicky Southall cross found Mark Patterson, but his header hit the bar. They looked very relaxed and were enjoying moving the ball around until in the 22nd minute their efforts were rewarded. Barry Ashby's chip found Andy Thompson, and when he failed to convert, Junior Lewis moved in to claim his first league goal. Gillingham continued to dominate, and when Junior Lewis was brought down by Nethercott, they made the most of a free kick. Robert Taylor stepped up to take it and drilled the shot straight through the wall.
It wasn't always pretty football for the 90 minutes, but I thought the lads at times when there was tackles to be won, they got in there, and when there was passes to be made, they passed them. So I'm delighted for them because their effort has been outstanding this season.
And they move up 3 places to 13th in Division 2. Gillingham 2, Millwall 0. Patterson broke his left leg in 2 places after a clash in the Millwall game. It's the second time in 3 years he's suffered the same injury. At Plymouth, a broken right leg kept him out for 7 months. Gillingham delighted the 6,000-strong home crowd by taking the lead. Andy Thompson quick on the mark to flick the ball in. Wrexham won a penalty, but Craig Falconbridge failed to convert. He made up for it, though, just a minute later, when he headed Darren Ferguson's cross home for the equaliser. But it didn't stay level for long. Andy Thompson finding Nicky Southall for a neat goal to restore the Gills' lead at half-time. But this was to be Bob Taylor's match. He opened his account on the 65th minute. And despite suffering from chronic tendinitis, he scored his second just 2 minutes later. But even half-fit, a well-worked free kick saw Taylor power the ball home to give him a hat-trick in 5 minutes, the fastest in the league this season. So a well-deserved home win, Gillingham 5, Wrexham 1. Gillingham travelled to Luton, and Junior Lewis scored a lovely goal to put them in the lead. But Luton equalised with a second-half penalty. And Gillingham conceded 2 more to eventually go down 3-1. Fined £500 for his actions during their game at Blackpool. He was angered by an incident that led to Blackpool equalising. They played on after the Gills keeper Vince Bartram had kicked the ball out of play so 2 injured players could be treated. Taylor's fine has been suspended until the end of the season.
Gillingham went into this game without the influential Robert Taylor. Scotsman Andy Thompson was expected to deliver, along with Manny Omanyumi, who posed an early threat. But it was the visitors who made the breakthrough on 17 minutes, Tom Young's opening his account after the Gills' defence were caught napping. It took the home side half an hour to respond, and Andy Thompson, with a little help from a precision cross and the upright, made it 1-1. But just minutes from the end, Gillingham claimed all 3 points when Andy Thompson pounced to grab his second. An inspiring performance from Peter Taylor's side. Gillingham 2, Cambridge 1.
I think it's now 4 wins in 5, I think, which we're happy with that. We're going in the right direction. Still got a lot to do, and but we're getting there.
We were lucky really to get 2-1 up really. We played awful first half, came back second half and we done the business really. It's a sign of a good team when we don't play well, so we're absolutely delighted with the 3 points.
Gillingham with a striker crisis had no problem in opening the scoring against Cheltenham. McGlinchey setting up Nicky Southall and they took the lead. But in the second half the Gillingham defence were caught napping and John Brough came in with the equaliser. It ended Cheltenham 1, Gillingham 1. He left in a storm of protest, and now Tony Pulis returns to Priestfield to try and put one over on the team he helped build into a force. He's currently under fire at Bristol City and needs every point he can get. So will he be welcomed back with warmth by the fans?
We'll certainly be cheered because this will be the first opportunity that the fans of Gillingham will be able to say thank you for the four years that he was here and the unprecedented success.
Pulis and Chairman Paul Scally are still embroiled in a legal battle following the controversial sacking of the popular manager. There is respect for him in other quarters, though.
We had 4 tremendous seasons here. I hope I can at least repeat that. And so, you know, I've got a lot of respect for him. I know that he'll be very professional coming here to try and get a result, but I'm also as professional and looking to take 3 points from him.
For Gillingham tonight, it's back to league business after the disappointment of a draw with Cheltenham in the Cup. Consistency and moving into the top 5 is vital.
We've had a tremendous October, and it would be brilliant if we could keep that run going. And tonight's a very important match, just like a normal league game, very important, but it's of course a little bit special with Tony coming back.
Despite failing to reach the First Division, Tony Pulis will still be regarded as the most influential manager to date at the club.
No wonder they're calling him the hat-trick man. Gillingham's Robert Taylor did it again last night. 3 goals in half an hour at Priestfield to sink Bristol City. It was his second hat-trick in successive matches, bringing his total to 11 for the season in 14 games. Each time he scores, so his transfer value goes up. Manchester City were watching him again last night, and they will need $1 million+ if they're to lure him away from Priestfield.
When I got the first goal, I thought, oh, that would do 1-0. And then I scored the second one, so that'll do 2-0. And then I got the third and I thought, oh my God, here we go.
An ankle injury almost ruled Taylor out of last night's game, and he only came on as a sub in the second half. His display exceeded all expectations.
It was a risky one, but we knew that with a good, strong stirrup strap in, as they call it, we didn't think he could go over and give him any further damage. He was up for playing, which I really loved him for saying this morning. Got a nice surprise, never thought he was going to play.
Bob Taylor's hat-trick overshadowed the return to Priestfield of the former manager Tony Pulis, now the Bristol boss, and who ironically brought Taylor to the club.
I love the place. I think it's a terrific place and it's a terrific club, and you know, we nearly achieved it last year. I think if Bob Taylor stays at the football club, then they'll do it this year.
Taylor has become a folk hero at Priestfield, adored by the fans, and the manager is only too aware what he means to the club.
We're absolutely desperate to keep him here. You know, he's a first-class player. I honestly believe with him in the team, get Carlos Saba fit, Marcus Browning fit, we could win the league.
County took a first-minute lead against Gillingham. Vince Bartram blocking Blackmore's shot, but Danny Alsop looked sharp with the follow-up with his first goal for the club. But Gillingham replied through the vision of Paul Smith, and Robert Taylor made his 4th goal of the week. It's now a case, though, of will he stay or will he go? Notts County 1, Gillingham 1.
Gillingham's surprise at having to play a replay against Cheltenham turned to relief with their first goal. A John Hodge cross found Andy Thompson, whose slightly fumbled strike was good enough to put them 1 up. And they pushed home their advantage just a quarter of an hour later. Bob Taylor passing to Adi Pennock, who scored a rare goal for him to make it 2-0.
I think everybody was surprised, not just me. I was over the moon just to be. I think I had a bit of a nosebleed getting that far up the pitch, to be fair. But the main important thing for us is just get through the next round, and you know, we eventually done it.
But they made a meal of it. In the second half, they let Cheltenham into the game, and Russell Milton made no mistake when he put the 3rd Division club on the score sheet. And it got worse not long after. The Gillingham defence was caught well and truly napping to let Neil Howarth score an impressive equaliser.
I thought we were very poor. I thought that you know, we've got to have consistency in our performance, and I thought that there was too many out there that I wasn't sure what they were going to do and what they were going to play like. And I think for a top team in the division, we've got to be better than that.
But his nerves were saved when Brian McGlinchey struck a long, hard ball. Nyron Nosworthy missed it, but it went into the net anyway. Big sighs of relief all round with that result. Gillingham 3, Cheltenham 2.
Gillingham are on a roll, and the focus very much on Robert Taylor as not only a goal scorer but goal maker. Gillingham's first goal against Bournemouth was superbly crafted by Taylor and finished by Andy Hessenthaler. It was an outstanding goal, skillfully made by the big man and clinically executed by the little man. Hessenthaler himself then turned provider as he set up Andy Thompson for the Gills' second goal. And in the second half, Hessenthaler's free kick found Taylor, who powerfully headed home number 3. And then he showed his tenacity in the 6-yard box as he scored his 14th league goal of the season. So how did Gillingham keep him at the club?
It's difficult because Man City are a big club. The Man City are firm favourites to try and sign him. They've made a couple of offers. As far as we're concerned, we're trying like mad to keep him. We keep telling Man City he's absolutely rubbish and he's not worth the money. But he's ambitious. He wants to play at a higher level.
Well, at the moment, I'm a Gillingham player. If anything, comes off, it does. But at the moment, I'll give 100% for the club. Everyone wants to play at a high level, obviously. If the chance comes, I'd love to take it. But at the moment, I've got to keep on digging in here and performing for the lads.
New share offer. 16 million shares go on the market on Wednesday, and the club hopes it will raise up to £5 million. Bowler hats and umbrellas heralding a new era for Gillingham. The players bringing a whole new meaning to doing the business on the pitch. But the City gent get up and the Charlie Chaplin walks aside. This was an important day for the Gills.
I think it's the biggest day in the club's history because it's the most important day, and I know there have been football epics over the years, but today marks the launch of our share issue, where the public throughout the county, throughout the country can buy shares in the football club, and obviously it needs to be successful for us to progress.
If some of the players appeared slightly unsure of what their new kit was for, the chairman was in his element. Today, a major step in his plans for the future.
We need to raise about £3.5 million. Now, we've got the ability to raise up to £5 million through 16 million shares, I think, being issued. And we need to really raise the funds to finish the completion of the Redfern Avenue stand, and more importantly, fit out the facilities that in turn will produce us the income that we need to take the club on.
In spite of the smiles, this could also be seen as a gamble by the Gills. Share offers haven't always proved successful at other clubs, though Paul Scally believes there's enough support in the area for the venture to be worthwhile.
I think from the feedback we've been getting from talking to people, I think people want to be involved in their football club and they want to show their support by being actively involved, by having a share of the action, if you like.
Those who are interested have until December the 31st to buy their stake. All going to plan, it could mean a very happy new year for Gillingham Football Club.
Gillingham made the most of a Darlington mistake for their first goal. Defender Guy Butters turning striker in the 17th minute. Then, just before half-time, top scorer Bob Taylor made it 2-0.
He's a fantastic finisher. I thought his first goal showed the pace he's got. People think he's not quick, but people never catch him from the halfway line. And he used his body so well, and I thought it was a really, really good finish.
Just 2 minutes into the second half, Taylor did it again with his 17th goal of the season. Little wonder Manchester City recently upped their offer to £1.2 million.
We don't want to start talking at less than £1.5 million. Now, I made that clear to them last week, and their chairman came back to me and said, is that a take it or leave it situation? To which I replied it was. He then said, well, they'll leave it, and that suits me fine, frankly.
Gillingham did let one through, but Darlington's consolation goal from Peter Duffield was too little, too late.
Well, we scored goals and we won the game. We didn't play as well as I would have liked, and we made a few mistakes, too many mistakes second half, but we would learn from that and we'll improve from that the next time.
So Gillingham's 3-1 win takes them into the third round of the Cup for the first time in 4 seasons. Now for a look at our 2 other games in brief.
Season. Well, they had to come from behind against Scunthorpe after Epua gave the home side an early lead. The Gills soon found their feet though. Andy Thompson hit the post, and Robert Taylor, who else, slotted home the rebound. Better luck for Thompson on the half hour. He latched onto a long ball to strike a fine effort to give Gillingham a half-time lead. But an hour-long break for a floodlight failure during half-time threatened to halt the Gills' progress, a degree of uncertainty over whether the match would continue. When it eventually did, Gillingham appeared none the worse for the wait. Junior Lewis scored 7 minutes after the restart. And then to round off the night, Nyron Noseworthy added the 4th, his first senior goal. The Gills up to 5th, their highest position of the season. Expected to sign for the club tomorrow in a £30,000 deal. Rowe, seen here scoring while on loan at Halifax Town last month, was York's leading goal scorer 3 seasons ago. And off the pitch, Gillingham shares went on sale today. For a minimum stake of £150, supporters can own part of the club. Chairman Paul Scally says that early interest has been very pleasing, with over 1,000 inquiries already. The 2 clubs finally agreed terms. His transfer is expected to cost City £1.5 million, with Australian international Danny Allsop coming to Priestfield as part of the deal. Taylor has still to sort out personal terms with the Manchester club, but the move is expected to go through. Alan Rook reports.
Robert Taylor arrived at Gillingham as a record signing in the summer of 1998. The £500,000 deal that brought him to Priestfield from Brentford brought with it high expectations. And after a slow start, the striker has seldom disappointed. Last season he scored 21 goals. This season his tally is already at 19 in League and Cup. Form that's attracted interest from clubs all over Britain. And tributes from the Gills' former boss, Tony Pulis, early this month. His Bristol City side were hammered by a Taylor hat-trick.
I love the place. I think it's a terrific place and it's a terrific club. And, you know, we nearly achieved it last year. I think if Bob Taylor stays at the football club, then they'll do it this year.
But news that Taylor isn't staying and that Manchester City are the club to have agreed terms comes as no surprise. Although Chairman Paul Scally said he didn't want to sell Taylor, the City manager Joe Royle has been determined to get his man. Ever since he did this at Wembley in the second division playoff final in May. It's understood an offer of £1.5 million, plus the Australian international Danny Alsop are what finally persuaded Gillingham. Alsop scored against the Gills while on loan at Notts County earlier this month. He's thought to be valued at around £300,000. So, Manchester City, the club that battled back to steal promotion from Gillingham at Wembley 6 months ago, tonight seems certain to steal the man who's arguably their greatest asset. Alan Rook for Meridian Tonight.
Has agreed personal terms to join Manchester City in a £1.5 million deal. At this moment, he's having a medical. If that's OK, he'll put pen to paper tomorrow. But can Gillingham continue their winning run without him? We've got all the weekend goals coming up, but we start with the Gills as we put them in focus. Gillingham fans have one big concern, is their life after Robert Taylor. It took just 14 seconds to reassure the travelling faithful at Cardiff. The set-up from Nayron Nosworthy, skipper Andy Hessenthaler found the home defence still asleep.
Amazing start. You can't believe that you can go a goal up after about 20 seconds, and a tremendous start for us. Great finish by Andy Hessenthaler, and as I say, it set us up for a good win.
The Welsh Dragon wasn't about to lie down though. Landy Legg levelled the scores. With Cardiff down to 10 men after Hessenthaler had been hacked down by centre-back Perrett, the Gills exploited the defence weakness and Andy Thompson wrapped up the points. A win that takes Gillingham to third place in the table and proves there is life after Robert Taylor.
People need to realise, and I'm sure many do, that I didn't want to sell Bob Taylor. I mean, Bob made it very clear he didn't want to stay at Gillingham. He wanted to go to Manchester City, which I can't blame him for. He's been offered a package up there, it's substantial, I'm sure. And eventually the manager decided that he didn't want a player playing for the team in the dressing room, on the pitch, who wasn't totally committed to the club.
I said to the players before the game, are we a one-man team? And all of them come back with no. And I said, we'll go and prove it.
In an undistinguished first half, Gillingham's Nicky Southall produced the only worthwhile shot on goal. But the Gills got their act together in the second half and at times toyed with the Bury defence. But their slick passing was not always matched by their finishing. It needed a defender to show the forwards how to do it. Roland Edge's penetrating run, linking neatly with Southall and applying the finishing touch himself. The 21-year-old fullback from Chatham is establishing himself in the first team after injury, and this was his first ever goal for the club, and one to savour. Gillingham's new signing, Rodney Rowe, got into the act with a decent run and cross, and Nayron Nosworthy's spectacular overhead kick smashed against the bar. Gillingham kept up the pressure on Bury, no more goals, but their 8th consecutive home win never in doubt.
It was quite tight, they came here for a draw really, and they made it very difficult for us to play. But we knew that if we got a goal, we could hold that and we'd get all 3 points, which is the vital thing. That's what I've wanted to do since I was young, play, and to score is a bonus. I don't score very often, and when they do, they're not bad. So it was a good passing move, and I was happy with it.
Looking at the players now, to me, the way they're performing, I don't expect them ever to get beat, and I expect them to keep winning matches. And that's the character, and that's why I want to bring in 1 or 2 more players to make us a much stronger squad.
The Auto Windscreen Shield is not a competition that fires the imagination, and with key players rested for Saturday's FA Cup game, it was an uninspired Gillingham that took on Torquay. That said, they did shade a goalless first half. New striker Rodney Rowe got his first start and 6 minutes in forced this lunge from the Torquay keeper. It was a patchy performance, short on inspiration, but on 39 minutes Paul Smith provided hope, setting up James Pinnock. He ran on well before threading the ball past 3 defenders and finding Rowe, who drilled just wide of the far post. After the break, Torquay showed little respect for a side a division above them. Their captain Paul Holmes found Kevin Hill with his corner. He climbed and finished. 52 minutes, the Gills a goal down. The second came 20 minutes later, Adrian Pennock's mistake on the edge of the box. Torquay sealed victory and ended the Gills' 11-game unbeaten run with some mopping up from Michael Griffiths. So, goodbye Auto Windscreen Shield, but it'll be a different Gillingham that line up against Walsall in the FA Cup on Saturday. Gillingham 0, Torquay 3.
A surging run from Andy Hessenthaler and a Nicky Southall finish gave Gillingham the lead against Walsall. A deflection helped the ball in, but no complaints from Southall. Defender Barry Ashby handled as he tried to clear a second-half corner, and the ex-Manchester United striker Mark Robbins scored yet another valuable FA Cup goal. The replay is next Tuesday evening, and the winners will have a home tie against Bradford City. Boss of the England under-21s, but then came the turning point.
The game's crazy at times because I think people saw me go absolutely mental on the touchline against Blackpool.
We did,
and they thought, well, he really cares, you know. And people that do know me know how much I care about the game anyway, and how much I want to be a success here.
What pleases Taylor most is the way the fans have got behind him and praised the way his team plays.
The atmosphere that the supporters have produced this year just proves what we can do, and I think this can be some place to come and play.
Next game, Colchester, over the Christmas period, sell-out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That is the potential we've got. I'm really pleased with that, and I think people enjoy watching matches over Christmas anyway. But I think a lot of that is because they're enjoying watching the team play at the moment. We've been in good form. We had a fabulous October and even better November. So we've been unbeaten since then, and I hope that carries on for a long, long time.
And with injured striker Carla Saba back in January, a promising new year ahead. Mike Field at Priestfield for Meridian tonight. It was Gillingham's toughest assignment of the season, and in the first minute, unbeaten Wigan showed just why. A Wigan corner, Sharp's curling cross, and Anna McLaughlin stealing in for his first goal for the club. Wigan's relentless pressure was rewarded with a second-half goal from Darren Sheridan, and they've now gone 23 matches without defeat. Wigan 2, Gillingham 0. To bounce back after their defeat by leaders Wigan, took a first-half lead against Reading through Nicky Southall. And with 3 minutes left at Priestfield, the 3 points seemed to be in the bag. Then a fine shot on the turn by Mark Nichols brought Reading's equaliser. But the Gills fought back, and almost immediately Andy Thompson restored their lead. In injury time, Reading were awarded a penalty for handball, and Martin Williams earned them an unlikely point. Quite a finish. Gillingham 2, Reading 2. Smart play by fullback Roland Edge set up Gillingham's opener. His cross bamboozling the Walsall defence, and Tony Barras heading in the neatest of own goals. A minute before half-time, Walsall's Chris Marsh broke down the right. His cross was headed clear, but into the path of Barney Larrison, whose volley thundered past Vince Bartram. A superb strike. Gillingham dominated the second half with winger John Hodge carving his way through the Walsall defence, but Junior Lewis wasting a golden opportunity. Hodge, who was only brought on as a sub, tormented his former team, and another of his mazy runs eventually set up the winner in extra time for Andy Thompson.
I just got in the box and just kept going really, and found myself in the position where I beat 2 or 3 players, and apparently I should have shot. People saying we thought you were going to shoot. I should have, and maybe claim the glory myself, but I just put it in the danger area, and Tom I was there and slotted it in, which was fantastic.
Gillingham's reward, a 4th round home tie against Bradford tomorrow night.
Gillingham or Bradford meet tomorrow with the winner at home to either Sheffield Wednesday or Wolverhampton. And Charlton are away at Coventry. The 5th round matches will take place on the weekend of the 30th of January.
On as a sub, he had quite a game, including setting up the winner for Andy Thompson. Will he get a place in the starting lineup tonight?
Yeah, I've named the team and John's starting, and he was superb when he came on. At times he hasn't played that way when he started the game, so it's a big test for John tonight. But I'm sure he's up for it, and it was fantastic what he done second half on Saturday. And if he can repeat that against the left back of the Premier standard, then it'll be a great display by John.
It's a shame about the timing of the game, really, isn't it? Because you're restricted to a gate of just 8,000.
The builders may be in at Priestfield, but the fans would take the roof off anyway in their present mood. Gillingham celebrating victory over Bradford from the Premiership and marching on to the 5th round of the FA Cup, and in the last 16 for only the 2nd time in their history. It took the Gills 40 minutes to take the lead. A long ball from central defender Guy Butters. Andy Thompson nipped in between a Bradford defender and the goalkeeper and deftly flicked the ball in. It was Thompson's 11th goal of the season. He cost just £25,000 and he's turning into the bargain of the season. Gills took the game by the scruff of the neck in the second half, and winger John Hodge proved too tricky for the Bradford defence as he set up Andy Hessenthaler, whose shot hit the post. Nicky Southall followed up, and his shot cannoned off a defender. The Gills had the Premiership side on the run, and minutes later, skipper Paul Smith's shot brought a superb save from Matt Clark. Hodge floated in a fine corner, headed on by Butters, and Barry Ashby guided the ball in. With 13 minutes left, Bradford pulled a goal back. Peter Biggery's run and cross, and another Premiership veteran, Dean Saunders, scored the goal. A minute later, and Gillingham put the game beyond Bradford's reach. Hodge's shot took a big deflection, but they all count. Gillingham 3, Bradford 1, and another memorable night for the Kent club.
Delighted for the supporters because they've made a lot of fantastic noise again tonight, paid good money to come and see us again, and I'm delighted for them because they saw their team put on a tremendous show against a Premier team and beat them.
There was a debate about Gillingham's first goal. We had a low-angle camera at the game. Was it an own goal or was it Andy Thompson's strike? The player had no doubts.
The ball's bounced up and I flicked it with the outside my right boot and the ball's went in the net, but I don't understand why anybody else is trying to say it's an own goal. I think the chairman's delighted with all the money that's coming in, but for us it's just a case of keeping the run going and keeping the confidence going, and whoever comes here, they know they'll be in a difficult game.
Another home game for the Gills in the 5th round, either Sheffield Wednesday or Wolves on Saturday, January the 29th. Mike Field at Priestfield for Meridian Tonight.
And tickets for that FA Cup 5th round game at Priestfield go on sale to season ticket holders only at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. General ticket sales start next week. It was also a great night.
Time in their history. They beat Premiership Bradford 3-0 to do it, and Angela Davis reports.
Did you come last night to the match? Yeah, fantastic, wasn't it?
They were brimming with confidence at Gillingham this morning. The club shop and ticket office inundated with requests for tickets for the 5th round. Understandable impatience, they've had to wait 30 years for this moment. Last night's tremendous 3-1 victory over Bradford put Gillingham into the 5th round for the first time since 1970, equalling a club record. And the manner in which they did it was even more reason to celebrate. A 3-1 hammering of a side 2 divisions above them. But after stamping out Premiership opposition, they'll have to wait to discover who they'll face in the next round, either Wolves or Sheffield Wednesday.
It's been the best 4 years that I can remember for ages, and I've been following them for probably 20 years.
I fancy our chances against either Wolves or Sheffield Wednesday as well, so I think this would be a good cup run for the Gills this year.
I thought it was a brilliant result, yeah. You know, 3-1 against Bradford, you know, it's better than anyone expected, so.
Gillingham aren't the only team to send a big side on their way. This year's 5th round could contain fewer Premiership sides than ever before.
There's been quite a lot of giant killings this season, and I think clubs like Gillingham can go a long way this year.
Do you think the whole town will get behind them in this FA Cup run?
Definitely. They did last time when they went to Wembley, so yeah, I think they'll go mad again.
35,000 followed Gillingham to Wembley last year, their first visit in club history. This year, another historic moment is up for grabs, an FA Cup quarter-final place. Angela Davis, Newsroom South East, Gillingham.
After cup victory over Bradford, Gillingham found Bristol Rovers tough competition. First, Rovers' Jamie Curitan put the home team ahead. Then Jason Roberts shot past Vince Bartram. And that's the way it would have stayed until 2 minutes from time, when Ife Onyura scored a consolation goal for Gillingham. That's the way it stayed, 2-1, Gillingham's first league defeat this year.
Back at the training ground for the first time since his operations, Carl Asaba is relishing the painful journey back to fitness. The striker had to have 2 operations on a groin injury, then a third was needed for surgical complications. It's been a long road since his last game at Wembley in May, when he scored the goal of his career.
Carl Asaba, real chance, he scored!
A great memory to have for 8 months out of the game.
You want to get back out and do your job. It's been very hard for me watching the success of Bob and the success of the team. As everyone knows, I love being part of the team, I love playing, love scoring. And you've just got to keep that in mind. You've got to get back to doing what you love best. So that's what spurred me on.
That could be the goal that sends Gillingham into the top 2 divisions for the first time in their history.
I think you'll always miss good players, and if we are doing well, if we've scored a certain amount of goals with Carl in the team, I think we'd have scored more.
As Peter Taylor and the squad got down to business this season, Carl has been up to football's rehabilitation centre at Lilleshall 3 times. He's also worked hard enough with the Gillingham physio to expect a game soon.
Obviously the cup match is there, but I've got to be responsible. I don't want to break down, and it's been too long a road, and the boys, to be fair, are doing unbelievable. I don't think they're missing me too much, so I think I could be about 2 weeks away from playing in the reserves, so you know, I just got to take it from there.
And on his return, he plans to make a big impact quickly, hoping to repeat some of the glory that made him a leading goal scorer in Division 2 last season. But he knows he'll have to fight for his place in the first team lineup.
The depth of strength in the squad is unbelievable. The forward line, you know, I'm going to have to be on my toes to try and get back in, and I'm really relishing that. That's going to bring out the best in me.
Liverpool's new boss, Steve McMahon, has called in a few favours to boost his struggling squad, after publicly saying the players he inherited weren't good enough to beat the drop. One of those new signings, Kevin Richardson, provided the free kick that bemused a static Gills defence. It went from bad to worse, as a 30-yard drive from Steve Bushell beat the despairing Vince Bartram. Any watching Sheffield Wednesday spies can only have been encouraged by a side that seemed bent on self-destruction, as Rob Matthews was allowed to run through the Gillingham ranks before smashing his shot home. This was the worst possible result ahead of this week's FA Cup clash, but at least Gillingham managed to salvage some pride, Nicky Southall with the strike. It finished Gillingham 1, Blackpool 3.
Right, we were. All due to Sarah's expert football knowledge. Gillingham are through to the FA Cup quarter-finals, and of course there's lots more to celebrate from an incredible sporting weekend here in the southeast. So let's relive that glory with Ian McBride.
The Priestfield Fairy Tale, Chapter 5, and 10,500 rampant fans were there to witness the best story yet in the club's history. Having already accounted for Cheltenham, Darlington, Walsall and Bradford, it was the turn of Sheffield Wednesday to come under Gillingham's spell. Playing into a strong, swirling wind, Gillingham's first-half tactics were to contain, which they managed until the 28th minute, when keeper Vince Bartram could only parry a cross from Gilles de Bilder into the path of Gerald Sebon. Gillingham used the conditions to their favour in the second half, and Wednesday were content to sit on their lead. After an hour, manager Peter Taylor changed tactics and brought on Mark Saunders to accompany Andy Thompson up front. It worked like a dream. 10 minutes later, Saunders had equalised and it was game on. Playing with fire and passion, there was no stopping the Gills, and Saunders set up Thompson, and they were in the lead. The confidence was now flowing right through the team, and Wednesday folded when Nicky Southall applied the coup de grace with a goal he and the fans will remember for a very long time. 3-1 to Gillingham in the 6th round for the first time, and a glamorous tie against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge in 3 weeks. But this morning it was back to basics with a little light training at Priestfield before a trip to the slightly less glamorous Chesterfield for a second division match tomorrow night.
We were all very proud on Saturday night, and the lads were superb. And what pleased me more than anything is the way everybody looks like they enjoyed themselves. Not only the players, the supporters, everybody. And it was a good crowd, great atmosphere. So it was a brilliant day.
It was back to reality for Gillingham last night. After their FA Cup glory, they were at Chesterfield in the league and finding it tough going. Saturday's hero, Nicky Southall, started a neat three-man move in the first half, Junior Lewis shooting wide. And it was a Southall free kick that offered Gillingham their best chance, a fine save from Mark Gale, denying them the lead. But lowly Chesterfield were more than holding their own, and they too had their chances. Mark Saunders scored Gill's first goal against Sheffield Wednesday, but he found Gale too good for him last night as he smothered his shot, and then Ifeanyi's follow-up was kicked off the line. Chesterfield almost nicked the points in the second half, and it needed Vince Bartram to be alert to at least keep a clean sheet. Gill's fifth league game without a win. Chesterfield 0, Gillingham 0.
Gillingham had their work cut out with an in-form Stoke keen to show why they sit higher in the table. But the Gills weathered the storm and even managed to turn the tide in the 13th minute. Andy Hessenthaler with the corner, Barry Ashby with the flick on, Ifeanyi with the goal. His second since returning to Priestfield from Swindon.
It was nice to get a goal so early on. Obviously, it takes a little bit of pressure, it settles it down a little bit. And then, I think you showed there we wanted it more than them. We competed better than them, and in the end it was come to a win.
One they had to work hard for as Stoke redoubled their efforts to equalise. But Gillingham redoubled their defence tactics, messy but effective. Then their early scorer turned provider as Anura set up fellow Swindon signing Ty Gooden for the cheekiest of goals. And they made sure of their first victory since Boxing Day when Anura again deftly set up Rodney Rowe for their third.
It's up to us now, we know that we're good enough to get at least in the playoffs, in this league. A lot of people probably think that the cup games have been a bit of a distraction, but we've got to put that to the back of our minds and just carry on our league form.
So Gillingham now 7th in Division 2 and hoping to consolidate their league form at Oldham on Saturday.
Gillingham got off to a flying start at Oldham, Ty Gooden making the most of defensive blunders. But the Latics were soon level through Sean Garrett. An Andy Hessenthaler free kick then helped Barry Ashby unlock the home defence. Rodney Rowe added the third to seal a convincing victory. Oldham 1, Gillingham 3.
This was arguably the biggest game in Gillingham's 87-year history, but they showed few nerves as play began at Stamford Bridge. They pushed hard, and a free kick gave Chelsea problems, but Andy Thompson's header was easily parried. But with 7 internationals in their multi-million-pound lineup, Chelsea's first real attack proved successful. Toure-Andre Flo with the finish. In the second half, Gillingham's star striker Carla Saba made his first appearance since the Wembley playoff final last May. And encouragingly enough, his first touch set up Andy Thompson, but he was just offside. Then, 5 minutes in, a corner from Chelsea captain Gianfranco Zola found John Terry unmarked, and the Gills were 2 down. Minutes later, it got worse. George Weir lofting the ball high over Vince Bartram to make it 3-0. With Gillingham under siege, Zola looked certain to make it 4, but Vince Bartram got stuck in to perform heroics. Chelsea won a penalty when Marcus Browning tugged Jody Morris in the box. Zola stepped up and made no mistake with the penalty. But it was Morris who sealed Gillingham's fate. His first effort hit the woodwork, his second found the net. Chelsea 5, Gillingham 0. Defeated but not disgraced, and time now to concentrate on getting back into Division 1.
At the other end. But Chelsea killed the game off with 2 quick goals early in the second half. Zola's corner being met by John Terry for his first goal for the Blues, and George Weir's header finding Gills keeper Bartram off his line. Zola made it 4-0 from the spot, and Morris added insult with the 5th 2 minutes before the end. So, in the end, a lesson in finishing against a quality side.
Fantastic. Very, very proud.
They took the chances and we didn't. But good game.
Very sad. They played well though.
Chelsea now meet Newcastle in their 8th semi-final in 7 seasons. For Gillingham, an extra £250,000 and a belated chance to concentrate on the league. Simon Thompson, Newsroom South East.
Saba made a dream return to Gillingham's league campaign after his injury problems. In the 58th minute, 4 minutes after coming on, he got his head to Ty Gooden's cross. It turned the game completely, and travelling fans had barely stopped celebrating Asaba's first when he was back again. Andy Hessenthaler, with vision worthy of Beckham, left Asaba clear with only Michael Jackson to fend off, and no mistake with the shot. Asaba's comeback couldn't have been more timely, and the Division 2 playoffs remain in sight. Preston 0, Gillingham 2.
Division 2 took on Oxford at Priestfield, and for most of the match it was the goalkeepers who kept things interesting. Andy Hessenthaler's cross found the head of Andy Thompson, but Oxford keeper Andre Arenzi proved he was up to the task. Gills keeper Vince Bartram, playing his 100th game for the club, marked his century with some great saves himself, clawing away this long-range strike from Peter Fear. Gillingham responded with this effort by Nicky Southall, but again Arenzi pushed it away. With the season drawing to a close, every point counts for Gillingham if they're to make the playoffs. And on the 89th minute, they got the goal they needed, with Junior Lewis finally getting on the end of a corner ball. Final score, Gillingham 1, Oxford 0.
Gillingham are chasing a place in the playoff zone and came out fighting against Notts County. Rodney Rowe unlucky not to convert. And their luck failed completely when Vince Bartram couldn't hold the ball, and the ensuing mess saw Ian Richardson score the winner for Notts County.
Frustrated in the result, but I think lots of the performances by some of the players was good. So I can't ask any more than that. You know, I think overall the team deserved to win.
But instead, Gillingham drop a place to 8th, but still have games in hand over all the teams above them.
The resilience of the Gillingham team shone through at Ashton Gate, and their blip of last week was soon forgotten as they won 3 highly prized points from Bristol City. It was a defensive mistake by City that let in Andy Hessenthaler, an irrepressible midfielder, made no mistake. It was a goal that keeps the Gills well in contention for the promotion playoff places, and one that delighted the fans. Bristol City 0, Gillingham 1.
Quite something to see ex-Arsenal and England international Ian Wright on the subs bench at Priestfield. But the Gillingham stalwarts were far from impressed. Andy Hessenthaler's corner eventually put in the net by Guy Butters on just 4 minutes. And they thought they'd made it 2-0 when Ife Anuru fired home a header, but it was disallowed for pushing. And it got worse on the half hour when an unfortunate deflection set up Andy Payton for the Burnley equaliser. Vince Bartram given no chance. But that man, Carl Asaba, playing his first full game at Priestfield since last May, came to the rescue in style. A fine solo effort, putting the Gills 2-1 up with 20 minutes to go. But Burnley had seen enough and sounded the alarm to bring out their trump card, Ian Wright. And it worked when Gillingham gave him all the space and time in the world to make it 2-2, 4 minutes from time. Wrighty's first goal for Burnley in his 6th game at the club.
Knowing Ian, he'd had a bit of movement in there, and that's why he's been such a good player all of his career. And it hurts a little bit because I thought as though we were going to take all 3 points. And I can't call him it, but he came on the sub and scored a goal. But overall, that's about the only disappointing thing of the evening.
So Gillingham have to be content with the 1 point and stay unchanged in 6th place, just below Burnley. But they do have at least 2 games in hand, with 4 still to play this month.
And a quick look at the table. Gillingham now 12 points off the automatic promotion slot, but they do have games in hand over all the clubs who are above them. And the Gills promotion push is to be helped by a new signing. Australian Steve Matone, the former Reading goalkeeper, has been brought in to strengthen the squad before the transfer deadline.
The Gillingham goalkeeper, Vince Bartram, was soon in the thick of the action at Priestfield. He made a crucial save early on. And then when the Gills conceded a penalty through Nyron Noseworthy's clumsy tackle, Bartram had no trouble in saving the spot kick and earning the plaudits of his manager.
His decision-making was excellent today. He come to get crosses and he's tremendous taking crosses, and I've always said to him, I want him to take them out as far as he can. And I thought he'd done that today, and his positioning and his decision-making and his calling was outstanding.
Bartram could not be faulted when Scunthorpe took the lead through Paul Harsley. But the Gills' reputation for fighting back was soon in evidence, with Junior Lewis equalising before half-time. Striker Carla Saba came off early in the second half with a hamstring injury, but super sub Andy Thompson soon made his presence felt when latching on to Ife Onura's header for his 13th goal of the season.
It's great for me, but it won't count for much if we don't get in the playoffs and get the automatic promotion. But from a personal point of view, I'm delighted with 13 goals, and hopefully I can get a few more before the end of the season.
Gillingham sealed the points when Andy Hessenthaler was bundled down and Nicky Southall converted the penalty. Gillingham 3, Scunthorpe 1. Gillingham met business at Bournemouth and in the 5th minute almost took the lead from a corner. Nyron Noseworthy's effort scrambled off the line. Just before half-time, Nicky Southall's deep cross was met by Ife Onura for the striker's 3rd goal since signing from Swindon. Southall's cultured right foot has fashioned a number of chances for Gillingham this season, and Ife was sharp enough to take full advantage and secure 3 valuable points.
We're in a very handy position. It's been a good night for us because a couple of other teams have struggled, so we've just got to keep fighting on there.
And the manager's position, his name is being linked with Sheffield Wednesday.
I think it's very flattering whenever big clubs mention your name. The only thing that I'm really concentrating on at the moment is promotion for Gillingham, and that's really what I want to do.
Manchester ended a run of 3 successive defeats and put a dent in Gillingham's playoff challenge. All the goals came in the second half. Steve McGavin's 14th of the season opened the scoring. Now this week's contender for how did he get that in from their competition? Tony Locke is emerging as one of the U's key players. Gills keeper Vince Bartram won't want to see that too often. Victory for the Gills would have set up a new club record of 5 away wins in a row, but a late effort from Rodney Rowe was merely a consolation. Colchester 2, Gillingham 1.
Gillingham's journey to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup has left them with a punishing schedule of games, and the strain is starting to show. This was their 2nd successive defeat, though Junior Lewis will no doubt still be wondering how he failed to give them the lead. They came close in the second half as well. Dave Carroll's poorly placed defensive header set up Brian McGlinchey, but his effort came back off the bar. Having failed to take their chances, Gillingham paid the price when Andy Baird scored the only goal of the game to end Wycombe's run of 6 matches without a win. Wycombe Wanderers 1, Gillingham 0.
Gillingham made hard work of lowly Chesterfield as they tried to consolidate their promotion chances. The best effort in the first half, a Barry Ashby cross, Steve Butler's header, parried by Mark Gale, and it needed a desperate goal line clearance to save Chesterfield. 15 minutes from time, Nicky Southall was granted the freedom of Priestfield, and his deep cross found Butler unmarked. The veteran striker scored the winner. At 38, Butler was the oldest man on the pitch and was surprised to be in the lineup, but he found himself in the right place at the right time. Gillingham 1, Chesterfield 0.
We're out of the playoff bracket for the first time for several weeks following Stoke's 1-0 win over Brentford. The Gills went a goal down just before half-time in their game at Reading on Friday night. Martin Butler leaving Vince Bartram rooted to the spot. However, Peter Taylor saw his side make a positive beginning to the second half, and Ty Gooden's cross was met perfectly by Nicky Southall, who headed home his 11th goal of the season. Ife Onura, a half-time substitute, put Gillingham in front. Andy Hessenthaler's corner caused the Reading defence no end of problems, and it was Onura who got the vital touch at the far post, his 4th goal since his move back to the club from Swindon. Reading, though, ended Gillingham's chances of another away win when Darren Caskey volleyed home for his 21st goal of the season with a quarter of an hour remaining. Gillingham now 7th in the 2nd Division table with 2 games in hand. Reading 2, Gillingham 2.
A day to remember for Gillingham fans, their first chance to use the new stand at Priestfield and to see their team win a vital promotion match. Their first goal was good to see from wherever you were watching. Iffy Onura and Nicky Southall linking for a classical 1-2. Iffy sliding home his 5th goal of the season. Adrian Pennock's own goal 2 minutes later was not so pretty, unless you were a Wigan fan. But Gillingham's battling second-half performance was eventually rewarded when poor Wigan defending gave Junior Lewis time for the deftest of chips to win 3 priceless points. Joy for 7,000 fans, and Gillingham move up to 6th place with games in hand. The winning goal by ex-Dover player Junior Lewis delighted the Gillingham manager, who surprised many people by bringing Junior out of non-league football.
He's had a tremendous first season. That's as good a signing as I'll ever make, because he's now played as many games as anybody in the first team here, and he's been great for us.
And the players paid their own tribute to Junior with a specially choreographed version of The Big Bird. Vince Bartram, back in the team after missing Saturday's match because of a traffic jam, quickly found himself in the thick of the action against Burnley. But it was Gillingham who took the lead after Nicky Southall's flighted cross was only partially cleared and Ty Gooden nipped in for an opportunist goal. Early in the second half, the Gills increased their lead through their big central defender, Barry Ashby. Andy Hessenthaler's crafty corner, but again, poor defence to allow Ashby's header. Even worse was to follow for Burnley. They failed to deal with another corner, and this time Paul Smith was the lucky recipient. It was the Gillingham skipper's first goal of the season, and a timely one. Burnley fought to the end, and it needed another fine save by Bartram to prevent them from pulling a goal back. 3-0 to Gillingham on the night, and as the league table shows, they're now in with a real chance of the second automatic promotion place. On Saturday, the Gills are at home to Luton, and then a crunch game against Millwall at the Den on Monday. So more goals like this, and the Easter celebrations can start in earnest. Mike Field at Turf Moor, 4 Meridian tonight.
Terry Doherty, who'd scored in their previous 5 games, he signed for Spurs in the week. How they could have done with him against Gillingham at Priestfield. The Gills, looking to consolidate their playoff chances, were ahead as early as the 9th minute. Ty Gooden's misdirected shot, headed in by Andy Hessenthaler. The second came on the hour. Nicky Southall's first-time effort, worthy of winning any match. Southall's 12th of the season, making it 3 wins out of 3 for Peter Taylor. Gillingham 2.
In the second division, a milestone for Millwall. Almost 18,000 saw Monday's match with Gillingham, the biggest league gate ever at the new Den.
Please note today's game is completely sold out. Once again, today's game is completely sold out.
More proof of a remarkable recovery. It's less than 3 years since the penniless club came close to being lost forever.
I think the key element was when we went into administration, we had to start from scratch. And that was build foundation, keep them here and get to the first division.
A win against their fierce rivals from just down the road in Kent would go a long way to help them. McCleary on the bench with Stevens in the stands, everyone about to witness a classic first half. Gillingham seemed to settle quickly, making the pace in the first 5 minutes, only to be caught by a devastating counter-attack. Paul Eiffel allowed to run and run before passing to a fellow product of the youth team, Lucas Neal. He picked out Paul Moody, and the Den went delirious. Almost straight from kick-off, they were thrusting forward again. Eiffel with the chance himself this time. And this was dreamland, for the Millwall fans at least. McCleary, for one, knew it was far from over, even at 2-0. Gillingham were a class act and emphasised that only 4 minutes later. Ty Gooden's stunner putting the smiles back on the Gills fans' faces and a few more furrows on the boss's brow. By half-time, there'd be plenty of talking to do, as Gillingham's inspirational midfield linkman Andy Hessenthaler had dragged his team back level. A goal he rated as the best he's ever scored in league football. A breathless, brilliant game, and the pace hardly slowed. Moody pulling a superb save from Vince Bartram early in the second half. Stevens could bear being in the seats no longer. A brief visit to the touchline to swap ideas. The plan seemed to have paid off soon after, but Cahill led with his arm on Bartram. Thankfully, from the viewpoint of Junior Lewis, the own goal didn't count. Into the closing stages, and Peter Taylor had one more weapon in his armoury. Carla Saba on as a sub, and so close to being on the score sheet. Really, it would have been an injustice for either side to lose, but there was no doubt which club was happiest with the draw.
I think the lads are a bit disappointed that we didn't actually win the game, because I think we created enough chances to have done so. But we'll be up for it again on next Saturday against Preston, so we'll be confident going up there.
The atmosphere was superb. We come out and warmed up, obviously before the game, and you know, it was great, and it's quite intimidating. You know, they're a good crowd, Millwall, and they give you a bit of stick. But our supporters were fantastic today as well, and it was a terrific game to play in.
Full of confidence for the running.
Yeah, I think you know, we've got 3 games left now. We've got Brentford Saturday, Cardiff on the Tuesday, and then we go to Wrexham last game. I can see us have to go to Wrexham and getting 3 points to actually get second place. I think if we win our last 3 games, we can do it.
I suppose it goes without saying you don't fancy the playoffs.
Not really, no. Unless you can guarantee us winning. But no, we don't really want to go through that again. But you know, if we have to do that, we have to do it. But you know, who knows?
Due to their push towards automatic promotion, Andy Hessenthaler was again to the fore as he dictated from midfield, setting up a chance with both strikers failing to take advantage. Fullback Roland Edge found the ideal long ball for Hessenthaler, who outpaced the Brentford defence, and the cross was met by Nicky Southall, who volleyed just over the bar. Ife Onyura fancied his chances against the Brentford defence and took them on single-handed, his final shot hitting the keeper, Andy Woodman. Southall was enjoying some freedom down the right flank, and his clever crosses caused problems. This one headed past the post by the captain, Paul Smith. Defender Barry Ashford was getting forward, and he put in a clever cross for Onyura, whose diving header went into the bottom right-hand corner of the net. A sweet goal, and in the second half, Steve Butler added a second. So 3 more points for the Gills. Gillingham 2, Brentford 0.
Field full of optimism. Their team had, after all, come from the playoff fringes to within touching distance of automatic promotion.
Confidence is high. You know, last season we didn't have some players that played at Wembley, not really up to the job. But this season we've got a good team. Confidence is really high, and I think we'll do it.
The first treat was an unusual spring fashion show by the visitors, whose bizarre red, white and bright yellow colour scheme was the result of not bringing the requisite shorts and having to borrow Gillingham's away strip lower half. Then it all got a bit nervy for half an hour or so as the Gills missed a few good chances and the fans began to wonder if they'd ever score. It took a shot smacked against the home crossbar by Kevin O'Connor to wake the Gills up to what had to be done. A moment later, the ball was being pumped down the right to Barry Ashby, one of Gillingham's 4 Brentford players. His cross swung into an unmarked Ife Onyura. That was the 37th minute, and you could feel the relief all round the Priestfield Stadium. The second half was all Gillingham, but again the goal just didn't want to go in. Andy Woodman's heroics denied Andy Hessenthaler in the 61st minute. More than a few anxious faces once more. But another former Brentford player did the trick again 3 minutes from time. 38-year-old veteran substitute Steve Butler's goal made sure that Gillingham's promotion destiny is now in their own hands.
You must be feeling as if this has been an extremely profitable Saturday afternoon.
Yes, it has. It's been a great day for Gillingham Football Club, and I think that you know, 2 or 3 weeks ago you wouldn't have said that we had a chance of automatic, but teams slip up, and sometimes teams get stronger. And I think that since the last 4 or 5 matches we've got very strong, and we're looking very powerful. So I'm delighted how the boys have played, and we just got to make sure we keep that going now.
We had the heartache of last season with the playoffs, and we got so close. So we don't really want to go through that again. So it'd be nice if we could actually wrap it up now and get automatic by winning against Cardiff and going to Wrexham and doing the same thing.
The lads deserve all the credit. They're a great bunch to work with, but I would feel that would be my best achievement so far in football, to get promotion at Gillingham Football Club and get into Division 1. It'd be great.
2 more wins and memories of last year's shattering Wembley playoff final defeat against Man City could be just a distant regret.
With cheers and tears at the Priestfield Stadium.
There was plenty to play for at Priestfield on Tuesday. Cardiff were desperate for a win to keep their hopes of catching Oxford alive. And they went ahead when Jason Bowen tucked in his 17th of the season, inside the first 2 minutes. Gillingham's run to the FA Cup quarter-finals left them with a strenuous schedule. But if they could win this, their last game in hand, they would move into the top 2 for the first time this season. Ifeanora's pass wasn't perfectly measured, but with some help from Andy Legg, Carla Saba was able to equalise. Cardiff's hopes weren't helped by the sending off of Andy Legg midway through the first half. Referee Scott Matheson found Legg guilty of fouling Asaba with no other defender around, and worse was to follow. Moments later, Gillingham moved ahead. Nicky Southall's splendid free kick brought him his 13th goal this term. An untimely slip from Cardiff defender Winston Faber helped Asaba give his team a 3-1 lead at half-time. He's had injury problems, but a fit Asaba is not the man to give the ball away to. As Cardiff looked for a way back into the game, Gillingham nipped in through the back door and grabbed a fourth. Helped by a good advantage decision from the referee and some eccentric defending, Asaba completed his hat-trick in style. So Cardiff return to the 3rd division, while Peter Taylor's team need just a win at Wrexham. Gillingham 4, Cardiff 1.
They had to put up with a lot of big games last year to get to the playoff. And I think that will help us this time. You know, they know it's a massive game on Saturday night against Wrexham. We know if we could possibly win the game, we can get promotion. And so, you know, I think you do need a good bit of experience for that, and we've certainly got that in the dressing room.
Ever since day one, I think that we've underachieved as a club, and certainly we've made too many errors over the season, which have been capitalised on in this division. And we've made it hard for ourselves.
It's the playoffs again for the Gills. Their astonishing run yielded 20 points from a possible 24 and took them into 2nd place, but in-form Wrexham denied Peter Taylor's team automatic promotion. Robins defender Mark McGregor didn't want to go through the whole season without scoring a goal, so he fired home from 35 yards to break his duck and Gillingham's heart. The visitors had 79 minutes in which to overturn that deficit, but it wasn't to be. Ifeanora forced Wrexham keeper Billy Dearden into action in the first half and again in the second. But Brian Flynn's side held on for their 5th successive win and completed 450 minutes without conceding a goal. Gillingham recorded their best ever league placing, but that's little consolation. Wrexham 1, Gillingham 0.
This is the hardest part, isn't it, for those who've had in sight automatic promotion to suddenly have to go through the playoff?
Yes, I think the lads now are a bit down because I think they thought they were going to be off on Monday and season over and think of holidays. But we've now got to pick ourselves up again and we've got to prepare for 2 very, very hard games.
Gillingham failed to clinch automatic promotion to the 1st division. By losing to Wrexham, they let in Burnley, who defeated Scunthorpe. So it's the Lancashire side who go up with Preston. From Wrexham, Neil Roberts reports on Gillingham's disappointing day.
A hat-trick would have done it, and the Gillingham fans knew it. A win against Wrexham would put the Gills in the 1st division for the first time in their history. The fans were full of expectation. They outnumbered their hosts 2-1, but there were anxious faces all round the racecourse ground, not least on Gills manager Peter Taylor. Wrexham took the lead after just 10 minutes. Then it was always an uphill struggle. Gillingham had their chances. Here Andy Hessenthaler and Ifeanora came close. But in the end it was not to be, and there were no more goals. Now the Gills go back into the playoffs after their heartbreaking defeat at Wembley in last year's final.
They're very down at the moment, but they also know that we're not out. You know, we can still get promotion. So, you know, we've got 3 hard matches to do that. Hopefully we get to Wembley and we'll try and win it from there.
Gillingham's chairman is also ready for the playoffs challenge.
If we go back to Wembley again, we don't want the heartbreak that we suffered last season, so we'll have to go back to Wembley win and go up the way that we always want to go up, if you had the choice.
So it was disappointment for Gillingham on their big day, but there are more matches to come. and perhaps this time the playoffs can lead to the First Division. Neil Roberts at the Racecourse Ground in Wrexham for Meridian Tonight.